what I didn't really get to is kind of going off on tangents to build up to that, but explain the background of that, why I would even feel some sort of reflection in this, but like to know down to the very detail of something that you created and why you did it and what it's connected to and what purpose it serves and why you put it in and how much weight it holds in that, you know, and just all of that, every little thing about your entire system or what, you know, created as an art initiative. To know every detail and every connection that you pretty much ever made. It just needed a reminder or something, but it's kind of with all that background that I just talked about, like in comparison to how it's said that like God knows like every detail of your life and every hair on your head and like knows everything about you, and you're just like, that's creation, you know. So I think in a lot of ways, and this also kind of gave me a very like, you know, a mirror in a sense, but obviously on a very different level, but on this human level of, you know, using something so mundane as, not mundane, but typical, I guess, of everyday use of YouTube, you know, something that anyone has had the opportunity to use this for years in the same way, but hasn't, you know. See it as timelines and to pair all these sort of entanglement and all of how something affects another thing and picks up on what, you know, and how trend progresses and why a theme or an idea or a word catches on. Even, you know, it says something about the psychology of people and culture and what's happening at the moment, why. If you really break it down, it does. If you really take it down, I don't with everything, but like you could, because it says something about it. So, and then what you're do, what I'm trying to do, you know. Do that for something that really, but anyways, yeah. And why you're so connected to it, and how in that video she was just saying so intertwined and interwoven, and this tapestry that you've built, and now I'm talking in third person, but that I've built, and just to know every thread, you know, to go into an old playlist and be reminded of that connection or something, and that joke, even if it was just, you know, for my own dorky humor, but yeah, just to know every little thing and remember how you created it and why and your train of thought and how it links to your own life and how it's all interwoven with culture and things. It's just like really interesting, and trying to think of that, something that just on YouTube, you know, just a music video platform, and anyone could have done, so that's why it's brilliant, you know. In the same sense of Andy Warhol, you know, just taking a mundane object and making it iconic, you know. Not necessarily making it to it, but this overall concept and art initiative and collaborations and whatnot. Whereas I didn't need credit for every little thing, my name on every little thing, but to be this orchestra conductor of this visual, auditory, dimensional, all the different ways to describe something. But our practice, our channel, and how meaningful it is to you for all these reasons, and it's so intertwined in a sense. It's kind of conceptual building, all these levels and layers, and depth of meaning, giving it dimension where you would give a painting dimension with shadow and light and comparison and contrast. Concepts and themes that play into is one overall reason for being within a timeline playlist context. The reason for us being on the planet in this one timeline playlist context and you can kind of just grasp a different perspective in that sense and see why we might mean so much to Creator, God, Inventor. It's heavy thought, and, like deep thinking and trying to work out all these little kinks and all these things, all these little connections, and what it means if I put it there, stressing over little details, but trying to, at the same time, embrace the overall picture, big picture, and not get too hung up on it, because you're just like, same sense, even make a painting, you need to enjoy it, the process, and experimenting, making a dress that you have an idea of, so you go with that pattern block that you're gonna pull from and make your pattern based off of that type of dress, but then you mix into it your style, aesthetic, what you want that design to achieve aesthetically, lines, you add volume, you add all these different things to it, different cuts, lines, and take them together, and make it a design in the same way that I meshed these elements with my own life, my aesthetic, my life that I'm leaving, my own personal experiences. And that's why it gives it more meaning, It's a tapestry in a sense. You're wrapping with the data system center. It's a merging of that fashion and art, truly, in the sense of like these broader concepts too, of like, was art always of the moment? Most people, famous artists weren't, well, not most, but a lot of famous artists weren't accepted in their time, or weren't known until after their death. People weren't appreciated until then. So art's not necessarily about, fitting in, whereas fashion, it's weird, because it is and it isn't, because it's about, standing out, but aspirational and being ahead of fashion grinding, all that kind of thing, but like basically being like accepted by culture. That's why we dress a certain way, we want to be seen a certain way, even if you don't want to be accepted, but you're doing it on purpose, like, whereas I don't know if you're necessarily communicating overall, you'd have to be, I don't know, it's just, it's interesting psychologically to think about how you can merge that within a system that reflects both culture, art, design, and all these other smaller elements. Science. I always thought that like textiles and being in the lab and microscope and acid tests were like the most science that fit into bachelor's of science and fashion design would, but like this is true like scientific pursuit. All these levels. It's almost like anthropology in a sense too. Observing your own life. Interplay interaction, whereas anthropologists just, don't interact usually. And the Nanny Diaries, which people think it was for, Mrs. X, right? X, intersection, two swords, but American Horror Story, she's Calico, I guess, or her name. She's made the nanny of all those hybrid babies. Which is kind of funny how some of these like things played out, like hybrid chameleons. Hybrid all the different ways that you could do that. Like even that was a hybrid, art and design, mixing a painter, art history with current design. I'm trying to find that overlap, that objective overlap that they both possess, and maximizing on that. But yeah, in a digital visual way. But I guess this has progressed into this sort of psychological analysis and cultural look of how you can really, I mean, what is the difference between these pursuits and expressions and industries? Yeah, it was just off the cuff. I was just thinking about it. So